Hello. Hello there, everybody. Today I'm going to be reading Animal Farm by George Orwell. This will be the first part. I'll read it in parts because I'm able to. Wait, why do I have this open on it? This will be the first part because I'm not going to read it all in one night because it's like what? It's like 100 pages, and I could read it in one night, but I'm going to read it probably in three in a row. So yeah, I'll come back tomorrow and maybe I'll finish it on the day after that. So yeah. Um yes. Okay. I'll just begin now with chapter 1. Also, I would like to say I might start another channel where I'll be talking and reading stuff about history and philosophy. I might I would probably start with Pompey the Great on that channel, but I haven't made it yet. So, yeah. Um Raw pork. Wait, is that uh no Brawl pork? Which one are you? Is that Neri? Okay. Anyways, hello there, and let's begin with Animal Farm. Animal Farm by George Orwell, Chapter 1. Mr. Jones of the Manor Mr. Jones of the Manor Farm had locked the hen houses for the night, but was too drunk to remember to shut the pop holes. With the ring of the light from his lantern dancing from side to side, he lurched across the yard, kicked off his boots at the back door, drew himself a glass of beer from the barrel in the scullery, and made his way up to bed, where Mrs. Jones was already snoring. As soon as the light in the bedroom went out, there was a stirring and fluttering all through the farm buildings. Word had gone round during the day that old Major, the prize middle white boar, had had a strange dream on the previous night and wished to communicate it to the other animals. It had been agreed that they should all meet in the big barn as soon as Mr. Jones was safely out of the way. Old Major, so he was called, though the name under which he had been exhibited was Wellington Beauty, was so highly regarded on the farm that everyone was quite ready to lose an hour of sleep in order to hear what he had to say. At one end of the big barn, on a sort of raised platform, Major was already ensconced ensconced on his bed of straw under a lantern which hung from a beam. He was 12 years old and had lately grown rather stout, but he was still a majestic-looking pig, with a wise and benevolent appearance, in spite of the fact that his tushies had never been cut. Before long the other animals began to arrive. Sorry, the light is no. Um, Before long the other animals began to arrive, and make themselves comfortable after their different fashions. First came the three dogs, Bluebell, Jessie, and Pincher, and then the pigs, who settled down in the straw immediately in front of the platform. The hens perched themselves on the window sills, the pigeons fluttered up to the rafters, the sheep and the cows lay down behind the pigs and began to chew cud. The two cart horses, Boxer and Clover, came in together, walking very slowly and setting down their vast hairy hoofs with great care, lest there should be some small animal concealed in the straw. Clover was a stout, motherly mare, approaching middle life, who never quite got her figure back after her fourth foal. Boxer was an enormous beast, nearly 18 hands high, and as strong as any two ordinary horses put together. A white strip down his nose gave him somewhat a stupid appearance, and in fact he was not a first-rate intelligent. But he was universally respected for his steadiness of character and tremendous powers of work. After the horses came Muriel the white goat and Benjamin the donkey. After the horses came Muriel the white goat and Benjamin the donkey. Benjamin was the oldest animal on the farm and the worst tempered. He seldom talked, and when he did, he usually made some cynical remark. For instance, he would say that God had given him if that say that God had given him a tail to keep the flies off, but that he would sooner have had no tail and no flies. Alone among the animals on the farm, he never laughed. If asked why, he would say that he saw nothing to laugh at. Nevertheless, without openly admitting it, he was devoted to Boxer. The two of them usually spent their Sundays together in the small paddock beyond the orchard, grazing side by side and never speaking. The two horses had just laid down when the brood of ducklings which had lost their mother filed into the barn, cheeping feebly and wandering from side to side to find some place where they would not be trodden on. Clover made a sort of wall around them with her great foreleg, and the ducklings nestled down inside it promptly fell asleep. I'm gonna look at the chat now. Okay, here it is Neri. Hello, Neri. Hello. Fuji, Bornadillo, Crocodilo. I don't know what that means, but hello there. Anyways, um, I'll get back to it. I'll just say that next time I look back at the chat, it will be on the next chapter. So every chapter I'll look back at it. At the last moment, Molly, the foolish, pretty white mare who drew Mr. Jones's trap, came mincing daily in, chewing at a lump of sugar. She took place near her front, and began flirting her white mane, hoping to draw attention to the red ribbons it had plaited with. Last of all came the cat, who looked round, as usual, for the warmest place, and finally squeezed herself in between Boxer and Clover. There she purred contentedly throughout Major's speech, without listening to a word of what he was saying. All the animals were now present, except Moses, the tame raven, who slept on a perch behind the back door. When when Major saw that they had made themselves comfortable, and were waiting attentively, he cleared his throat and began. Comrades, you have heard already about the strange dream that I had last night. But I will come to the dream later. I have something else to say first. I do not think, comrades, that I shall be with you for many months longer, and before I die, I feel it is my duty to pass on to you such wisdom I have acquired. I never had a long life. I, I have had a long life. I have, I have had much time of forethought as I lay alone in my stall. And I think I may say that I understand the nature of life on this earth as well as any animal now living. It is about this that I wish to speak to you. Now, comrades. Sorry, this is the battery, isn't it? Now, comrades, what is the nature of this life of ours? Let us face it, our lives are miserable, laborious and short. We are born, we are given so much food as will keep the breath in our bodies, and those who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. And the very instant our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. But is this simply part of the order of nature? Is it because the land of ours is so poor that it cannot afford a decent life to those who dwell upon it? No, comrades, 1,000 times no. The soil of England is fertile, its climate is good, it is capable of affording food in abundance to an enormously greater number of animals than now inhabit it. This single farm of ours could support a dozen horses, 20 cows, hundreds of sheep, and all of them living in the comfort and dignity that are now almost beyond our imagination. Why then do we continue in this miserable condition? Because nearly the whole of the produce of our labor is stolen from us by human beings. Their comrades is the answer to all our problems. It is summed up in a single word: man. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk. He does not lay eggs. He is too weak to pull the plow. He cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits, yet he is the lord of all animals. He sets them to work. He gives back to them bare minimum that will prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps for himself. Our labor tilts the soil, our dung fertilizes it, and yet there's not one of us that owns more than his bare skin. You cows that I see before me, how many thousands of gallons of milk have you given during this last year? And what has happened to that milk, which you should have had, which you should have been breeding up sturdy calves? Every drop of it has gone down the throats of our enemies. And you hens, how many eggs have you laid in the last year, and how many of those eggs have hatched into chickens? The rest have all gone to the market to bring money for Jones and his men. And you, Clover, what are those four foals you bore who should where are those four fowls you bore who should have been the support and pleasure of your old age? Each was sold at a year old. You will never see one of them again. In return for your four confinements and all your labor in the field, what have you ever had except your bare rations and stall? And even the miserable lives we lead are not allowed to reach their natural span. For myself, I do not grumble, for I am one of the lucky ones. I am 12 years old and have had over 400 children. Such is the natural life of a pig, but no animal escapes the cruel knife in the end. You young porkers who are sitting in front of me, every one of you will scream your lives out at the block within a year. To that horror we all must come, cows, pigs, hens, sheep, everyone. Even the horses and the dogs have no better fate. You boxer, every day that those great muscles of yours lose their power, Jones will set the day those great muscles of yours lose their power, Jones will sell you to the knackers, who will cut your throat and boil you down for the foxhounds. As for the dogs, when they grow old and toothless, Jones ties a brick around their necks and drowns them in the nearest pond. Is it not crystal clear then, comrades, that all the evils of this life of ours spring from the tyranny of human beings? Only get rid of man, and the produce only get rid of man, and the produce of our labor would be our own. Almost overnight, we would become rich and free. And then what? And then what then must we do? Why work night and day, body and soul, for the overthrow of a human race? That is my message to you, comrades. Rebellion. I do not know when the rebellion will come. It might be a week or it might be 100 years, but I know surely as I see this straw beneath my feet that sooner or later justice will be done. Fix your eyes on that, comrades, throughout the short remainder of your lives. And above all, pass on this message of pass on this message of mine to those who come after you, that so that the future generations shall carry on the struggle until it is victorious. And remember, comrades, your resolution must never falter. No arguments must lead you astray. Never listen when they tell you that man and animals have a common interest, and that prosperity of one is prosperity of the others. It is all lies. Man serves the interests of no other creature except for himself. And among us animals, let there be perfect unity, perfect comradeship in this struggle. All men are enemies. All animals are comrades. At this moment, there was a tremendous uproar. While Major was speaking, four large rats had crept out of their holes and were sitting on their hindquarters, listening to him. The dogs had suddenly caught sight of them, and it was only by a swift dash for their holes that the rats saved their lives. Major raised his trotter for silence. "Comrades," he said, "here is a point that must be settled. The wild creatures, such as rats and the rabbits, are they our friends or our enemies? Let us put it to the vote. I propose this question to the meeting. Are rats comrades?" The vote was taken at once, and it was agreed by an overwhelming majority that the rats were comrades. There were only four dissentients, the three dogs and the cat, who were afterwards discovered who the three dogs and the cat, who afterwards was discovered to have voted on both sides. Major continued. I have a little more to say. I have a little more to say. I merely repeat, remember, I merely repeat, remember always your duty of enmity towards man and all his ways. Whatever goes upon two legs is an enemy. Whatever goes upon four legs or has wings is a friend. And remember also that in fighting against man, we must not come to resemble him. Even when you have conquered him, do not adopt his vices. No animal must ever live in a house, or sleep in a bed, or wear clothes, or drink alcohol, or smoke tobacco, or touch money, or engage in trade. All the habits of man are evil. And above all, no animal must ever tyrannize over his own kind. Weak or strong, clever or simple, we are all blood brothers. No animal must ever kill any other animal. All animals are equal. And now, comrades, I will tell you about my dream last night. I cannot describe that dream to you. It was a dream of the earth, as it will be when man has vanished. But it reminded me of something that I had long forgotten many years ago. Many years ago, when I was a little pig, my mother and the other souls used to sing an old song of which they knew only the tune and the first three words. I had known that tune in my infancy, but it had long since passed out of my mind. Last night, however, it came back to me in my dream, and what is more, the words of the song also came back to me. Came back. I am certain which the words I am certain which were sung by the animals a long time for of long ago, and have been lost to the memory for generations. I will sing you that song now, comrades. I am an old I am old and my voice is hoarse, but when I have taught you the tune, you can sing it better for yourselves. It is called Beasts of England. It's still in the first chapter, but no, Neri, I don't have a super chat. You need to get 500 subscribers. and 3,000 watch hours for that. So yeah, I don't have it, but yeah. Old Major cleared his throat and began to sing. As he said, his voice, as he said, as he said, his voice was hoarse, but he sang well enough, and it was stirring. It was a stirring tune, something between Clementine and La Cucaracha. The words ran: "Beasts of England, beasts of Ireland, beasts of every land and clime, hearken to my joyful tidings of the golden future time. Soon or late the day is come, tyranny, man shall be overthrown, and the fruitful fields of England shall be trod by beasts alone. Rings shall vanish from our noses, and harness from our back. Bit and spur shall rust forever, cruel whips no more shall crack. Riches more than mind can picture, wheat and barley and oats and hay. Clover, beans, mangled worsens shall be ours upon that day. Bright will shine the fields of England, purer that shall its water be. Sweeter yet shall blow its breezes on the day that sets us free. For that day we all must labor, though we die before it break. Cows and horses, geese and turkeys, all must toil for freedom's sake. Peace of England, peace of Ireland, peace of every land and clime. Heart and well spread my tidings of the golden future time. Singing of this song threw the animals into the wildest excitement. Almost before Major had reached the end, they had begun singing it for themselves. Even the stupidest of them had already picked up the tune and a few of the words. And as for the clever ones, such as the pigs and the dogs, they had the entire song by heart within a few minutes. And then, after a the after a few preliminary tries, the whole farm burst into beasts of England in tremendous unison. The cows lowed it, the dogs whined, the sheep bleated it, the horses whinnied it, the ducks quacked it. They were so they were so delighted with the song that they sang it right through 5 minutes in succession, and might have continued singing it all night if they had not been interrupted. Unfortunately, the uproar awoke Mr. Jones, who sprang out of bed, feeling sure that there was a fox in the yard. He seized the gun, which always stood in a corner of his bedroom, and let fly a charge of number six shots into the air, into the darkness. The pellets buried themselves in the wall of the barn, and the meeting broke up hurriedly. Everyone fled to his own sleeping place. The birds jumped onto their perches. The animals settled down in the straw, and the whole farm was asleep in a moment. Chapter 2. Sorry. 1 second, I'm just going to do something very fast. Um, 1 second. Let's get back to it. Look at what I wrote in the chat if you have. Yeah, anyway, chapter 2. 3 nights later, old Major died peacefully in his sleep. His body was buried at the foot of the orchard. This was this was early in March. During the next 3 months, there was much secret activity. Nature's speech had given to the more intelligent animals on the farm a completely new outlook on life. They did not know when the rebellion predicted by Major would take place. They had no reason for thinking it would be within their own lifetime, but they saw clearly that it was their duty to prepare for it. The work of teaching and organizing to the others fell naturally upon the pigs, who are generally recognized as being the cleverest of the animals. Prominent among the pigs were two young boars named Snowball and Napoleon, whom Mr. Jones was breeding up for sale. Napoleon was a large, rather fierce-looking Berkshire boar, the only Berkshire on the farm. Not much of a talker, but with a reputation for getting his own way. Snowball was a vivacious pig, was a more vivacious pig than Napoleon, quicker in speech and more inventive, but was not considered to have the same depth of character. All the other male pigs on the farm were porkers. The best known among them was a small, fat pig named Squealer. With very round cheeks, twinkling eyes, nimble movement, and a shrill voice, he was a brilliant talker. And when he was arguing with some difficult point, he had a way of skipping from side to side and whiskering his tail, which was somehow very persuasive. The others that said said of Squealer that he could turn black into white. These three had elaborated old Major's teachings into a complete system of thought, to which they gave the name of animalism. Several nights a week, after Mr. Jones was asleep, they held secret meetings in the barn and expounded the principles of animalism to the others. At the beginning, they met with much stupidity and apathy. Some of the animals talked of a talked of the duty of loyalty to Mr. Jones, whom they referred to as master, or made elementary remarks such as Jones feeds us. If he were gone, we should starve to death. Others asked such questions as, why should we care about what happens after we are dead? Or if the rebellion is to happen anyway, what difference does it make whether we work for it or not? And the pigs had a great difficulty in making them see that this was contrary to the spirit of animalism. The stupidest questions of all were asked by Molly, the white mare. The very first question she asked Snowball was, will there be sugar after the rebellion? No, said Snowball firmly. We have no means of making sugar on this farm. Besides, you do not need sugar. You will have all the oats and hay you want. And shall I be allowed to wear ribbons in my mane? Asked Molly. Comrade, said Snowball, those ribbons that you are so devoted to the are the badge of slavery. Can you not understand that liberty is worth more than ribbons? Molly agreed, but she did not sound very convinced. The pigs and the pigs had an even harder struggle to counteract the lies put out by Moses, the tame raven. Moses was Mr. Jones' special pet, was a spy and a tale bearer, but he was also a clever talker. He claimed to know of the existence of a mysterious country called Sugar Candy Mountain, to which all the animals went when they died. It was situated somewhere up in the sky, a little distance beyond the clouds, Moses said. In Sugar Candy Mountain, it was Sunday, 7 days a week. Clover was in season all year round, and the lump of sugar and since the cake grew on the hedges. The animals hated Moses because he told tales and did no work. but some of them believed in Sugar Candy Mountain, and the pigs had to argue very hard to persuade them that there was no such place. Their most faithful principles were the two cart horses, Boxer and Clover. These two had great difficulty to thinking anything out for themselves, but having once accepted the pigs as their teachers, they absorbed everything that they were told, and passed it on to other animals by simple arguments. They were unfailing in their attendance at the secret meeting in the barn, and led the singing of Beasts of England, with which the meetings always ended. Now as it turned out, the rebellion was achieved much earlier and more easily than anyone had expected. In the past years, Mr. Jones, although a hard master, been a capable farmer, but out of late he had fallen on evil days. He had become much disheartened after losing money in a lawsuit, and had taken to drinking more than it was good for him. For for whole days at a time he would lounge in his Windsor chair in the kitchen, reading the newspapers, drinking, and occasionally feeding Moses on crusts of bread soaked in beer. His men were idle and dishonest. The fields were full of weeds, and the building wanted roofing the hedges. Roofing. The hedges were neglected, and the animals were underfed. June came, and hay was almost ready for cutting. On Midsummer's Eve, which was Saturday, Mr. Jones went into Willington and got so drunk at the Red Lion that he had not come back until midway on Sunday. The men had milked the cows in the early morning, and then had gone out rabbiting, without bothering to feed the animals. When Mr. Jones got back, he immediately went to sleep on the drawing-room sofa, with news of the world over his face, so that when evening came, the animals were still unfed. At last, they could stand it no longer. One of the cows, br- it's not most of the story. Wait, let me just. No, didn't miss most of the story. We we finished chapter one now, in the middle of chapter two, and then I'm going to do another. Maybe I will finish in 30 minutes because it's kind of getting late. It's like 9 o'clock, and then after it'll be 9:30 or something by the time. And after I came from the trip, so I'm like, yeah. Anyways, where was I? Uh, one of the cows broke in the room of the store fe- of the sh- s- At last they could stand it no longer. One of the cows broke in the door of the store shed with her horn, and all the animals began to help themselves from the bins. It was it was just then that Mr. Jones woke up. The next moment, he and his four men were in the store shed with whips in their hands, lashing out in all directions. This was more than hungry animals could bear. With one accord, though nothing of the kind had been planned for beforehand, they flung themselves upon their tormentors. Jones and his men suddenly found themselves being booted and kicked from all sides. The situation was quite out of their control. They had never seen animals behave like this before, and this sudden uprising of creatures whom they were used to thrashing and maltreating just as they chose frightened them almost out of their wits. After only a moment or two, they gave up trying to defend themselves, and the, took their heels, took to their heels. A minute later, all five of them were in full flight down the cart track that led to the main road, with the animals pursuing them in triumph. Mr. Mrs. Jones looked out of the bedroom window and saw that what was happening. Hurriedly, she flung a few possessions into a carpet bag and slipped out of the farm by another way. Moses sprang off his perch and flapped after her, croaking loudly. Meanwhile, the animals had chased Jones and his men out onto the road and slammed the five-barred gate behind them. And so, almost before they knew what was happening, the rebellion had been successfully carried through. Jones was expelled, and Manor Farm was theirs. For a few minutes, the animals could hardly believe in their good fortune. Their first act was to gallop in a body right around the boundaries of the farm, as though to make sure that no human being was hiding anywhere. Upon it, then hiding anywhere upon it. Then they raced back to the farm buildings to wipe out their last traces of Jones's hated reign. The harness room at the end of of the stables was broken open. The bits the nose rings, the dog chains, the cruel knives with which Mr. Jones had been used to castrate pigs and lambs were all flung down the well. The reins, the halters, the blinkers, the degrading nose bags were thrown onto the rubbish fire, which was burning in the yard. So were the whips. All the animals carped with joy when they saw the whips going up in flames. Snowball threw onto the fire the ribbons which the horses' manes and tails had usually been decorated on market days. What is this? Okay. Two. Um, Ribbons, he said, should be considered as clothes which are a mark of human being. All animals should go naked. When Boxer heard this, he fetched a small straw hat which he wore in the summer to keep the flies out of his ears, and flung it onto the fire with the rest. In a little while the animals had destroyed everything that reminded them of Mr. Jones. Napoleon then led them back to the store shed and served out a double ration of corn to everyone, with two biscuits for each dog. Then they sang Beast of England from end to end 7 times running, and after that they settled down for the night and slept as they never slept before. But they woke up at dawn as usual, and suddenly remembering the glorious thing that had happened, they all raced out into the pasture together. A little way down the a little way down the pasture there was a knoll that commanded a view of most of the farm. The animals rushed to the top of it and gazed down around them in clear morning light. Yes, it was theirs. Everything that they could possibly see was theirs. In ecstasy of that thought, they gamboled round and round. They hurled themselves into the air, in great leaps of excitement. They rolled in the dew. They cropped mouthfuls of sweet summer grass. They kicked up clods of black earth and snuffed its rich scent. Then they made a tour of inspection of the whole farm and surveyed with speechless admiration the plowland, the hayfield, the orchard, the pool, the spinney. It was as though they had never seen these things before, and even now they could hardly believe that it was all their own. Then they filed back to the farm buildings, halted in silence outside the door of the farmhouse. That was theirs too, but they were frightened to go inside. After a moment, however, Snowball and Napoleon butted the door open with their shoulders, and the animals entered in a single file walking with the utmost care for fear of disturbing anything. They tiptoed from room to room, afraid to speak above a whisper, and gazing with a kind of awe at the unbelievable luxury at the beds, with their feathered mattresses, the looking the looking glasses, the horse chair, sofa, the Brussels carpet, the lithograph of Queen Victoria over the drawing room mantelpiece. They were just coming down the stairs when Molly was discovered to be missing. Going back, the others found that she had remained behind in the best bedroom. She had taken a piece of blue ribbon from Jones's dressing table and was holding it against her shoulder and admiring herself in the glass in every foolish manner. The others approached her sharply, and they went outside. Some hams hanging in the kitchen were taken out for burial, and the barrel of beer in the scullery of, was was stove in with was stove was stove in with kick was stove in with a kick from the boxer's hoof. Otherwise, nothing in the house was touched. An unanimous resolution was passed on the spot that the farmhouse would be preserved as a museum. All agreed that no animal would ever live there. The animals had their breakfast, and then Snowball and Napoleon called them together again. Just asking, anybody here who is listening, watching, ever read Animal Farm? Just wondering. Comrades, said Snowball, it is 6:30, and we have a long day before us. Today we begin the hay harvest, but there is another matter that must be attended first. The pigs were now revealed that during the past 3 months they had taught themselves to read and write from an old spelling book which had belonged to Mr. Jones's children. It had been thrown onto the rubbish heap. Napoleon sent for pots of black and white paint and led the way down to the 5-barred gate that gave on to the main road. Then Snowball, for it was Snowball who was the best at writing, took a brush between the two knuckles of his trotter and painted out Manor Farm from the top of the top bar of the gate, and in its place painted Animal Farm. This was to be the name of the farm from now onwards. After this, they went back to the farm buildings, where Snowball and Napoleon sent for the ladder which they caused to be to be set against the end of the wall of the big barn. They explained that by their studies of the past 3 months, the pigs had succeeded in reducing the principles of animalism to 7 commandments. These 7 commandments would now be inscribed on the wall. They would from they would form an unart, unalterable law by which all these animals on Animal Farm must live every for live for ever after. With some difficulty, for it was not easy for a pig to balance himself on a ladder, Snowball climbed up and set to work. with Squealer a few rungs below him, holding the paint pot. The commandments were written on the tarred wall in a great white letters that would read 30 yards that you could read 30, with great white letters so that you could read it from 30 yards away. They ran they ran thus. Oh, we read it at school for our English literature exams. Cool. At school, like when you were my age or older, so that like how did you when you read it, what did you understand from it? Like what did you think of it? Like just what is your opinion on the book? What do you think about it? Because I like hearing opinions about these kind of books. Okay. The 7 commandments. Number 1. Whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. Number 2. Whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. 3. No animal shall wear clothes. 4. No animal shall sleep in a bed. 5. No animal shall drink alcohol. 7. 6. No animal shall kill any other animal. 7. All animals are equal. It was very neatly written, and except that friend was written friend, and one of the S's was the wrong way around, the spelling was correct all the way through. Snowball read it aloud for the benefit of the others. All the animals nodded in complete agreement, and the cleverest ones began to learn the commandments by heart. "Now, comrades," cried Snowball, throwing down the paintbrush, "to the hayfield. Let us make it a point of honor to get in the harvest more quickly than Jones and his men could do." But at this moment the three cows, who had seemed uneasy for the time past, set up a loud lowing. They had not been milked for 24 hours, and their udders were almost bursting. After a little after a little thought, the pigs sent for buckets and milked the cows fairly successfully, their trotters being well adapted to this task. Soon there were 5 buckets of frothing creamy milk, at which many of the animals looked with considerable interest. "What is going to happen to the milk?" said someone. "Jones used Jones used to mix some of it in our mash," said one of the hens. Never mind the milk, comrades," cried Napoleon, placing himself in front of the buckets. "That will be attended to. The harvest is more important. Comrade Snowball will lead the way. I shall follow in a few minutes. Forward, comrades, the hay is waiting." So the animals topped down to the hayfield to begin the harvest, and when they came back in the evening, it was noticed that the milk had disappeared. Chapter 3. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. 1 second. Okay, should I read one more chapter or should we end it here? I don't know. I'm gonna check how long is this chapter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I'll return to this chapter tomorrow because it's a very long one and I've already got 47 minutes. So I'll return to it tomorrow, and through this week we'll do every day a live reading around like how we did now, 50 to 1 hour minute to 50 minutes to 1 hour. So we can get this done probably by Wednesday or something like that. Yeah. Chapter 3, we were last. Chapter 3 is the next one. Anyways, again, I would like to say I think I'm going to start one more last channel because I would like another one where I talk about something different. Where I would like another channel where I talk about philosophy and history, and also where I read books about that stuff and stuff like that. And because it's interesting in my opinion, because um there's all kinds of different kinds of thing you can learn from history and philosophy and stuff like that, from what I've learned so far. This would probably be the first book that I would read on that other channel for Pompey the Great. It would be the first book that I read, not maybe the first video that I make. Maybe I'll do it on something else. But anyways, um, yeah, I would um read on this. And yeah, I also I'm getting Plato the Republic because I think it's a really I've listened to the audiobook of the first chapter, if you can say that, chapter call it. Um but and then after I'll do that on the other channel which I'm going to make. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the reading. I got the message. Loved the book at the time. It gave me a perspective on the idea of how ideologies can be corrupted and used maliciously. Yes, I agree. When I also I find this very this book is very much like about communism kind of. I don't know much, but from what I read and what I know from about it, it's very similar. Like how it was how it wasn't. I listened to the Communist Manifesto, and I didn't think agree with everything on that. Some things were made sense, but because I listened to it because I think I want to learn from all sides of everything. But yeah, and then after I see this, and it's like stuff with like it's similar to what happened with Soviet Union and stuff like that. It was like the people changed it to their own thing, and yeah, so yeah, it was, I think, yeah, it's just I just think it's also like I agree with like how people you change things to their own advantage. So yeah. Anyways, I'm going to finish now because I'm really tired, and this light is burning my head out. This is super bright. If I have this off, it's like super dark over here. So anyways, bye bye and see you tomorrow on the live reading. And I'm also starting the other channel tomorrow. I also hope to next weekend, if I have time, if I will have time. I'm not going to be going anywhere actually or anything like that. Uh, yes, I am. Yesterday I woke up. I am very tired. Yeah, yesterday it was. I had a big trip, so yeah. I woke up yesterday to go to the place to the bus place at 5 o'clock. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, ciao. And I also hope next weekend I can make a live reading on my other channel, the Trotty the Great channel. If anybody who's watching doesn't know that channel, it's I post comedy stuff. Uh, there's only one person, which is probably used to watching, but when people are watching on the well on the live on later on the other when it's no longer live, I have another channel called Jatid Growth. Great, go check it out. Anyways, bye bye. I will see you tomorrow live reading. Bye. Yeah.